Europe, 1284. Winter ruled the Carpathian Mountains with a coldness so deep that the forests seemed frozen in time. Winds moved through the twisted pines like wandering spirits searching for lost names. Travelers avoided these lands except in groups, for wolves hunted in silence, and bandits slipped like ghosts through the trees. But there was one place even these dangers avoided, a place villagers spoke of only when the sun was gone and the doors were locked, a place they called the Black Monastery. Brother Matthias of Lübeck had never heard that name before the Archbishop summoned him. Matthias lived a quiet life, copying sacred texts in the dim light of a monastery scriptorium. He was a man of parchment, not travel, of prayer, not danger. But when he stepped into the Archbishop's chamber and saw a sealed letter placed alone on the wooden table, he felt a heaviness that made the air itself seem colder. The Archbishop did not invite him to sit. He simply turned from the window, his face half lit by a flickering candle, and said, "Brother Matthias, you are to travel east at once." "To where, your grace?" Matthias asked. "To a monastery in the Carpathians," the Archbishop replied. "You will go alone." Matthias sensed the fear behind the Archbishop's voice. When he opened the sealed letter, his breath caught. Written in precise Latin, 3 short lines commanded him. "Travel to the Black Monastery, recover the prophecy, burn the rest." No blessing, no explanation, only those chilling words. Days later, Matthias began his journey. The villages he passed through grew poorer, the roads narrower. At first, locals welcomed him politely. But as he continued east, their behavior changed. Doors shut at the sight of him. People refused to speak. When he mentioned the mountains, they stared as if he had spoken a forbidden name. One night, in a tavern near the foothills, an old shepherd approached, his hands trembling from age or fear. Matthias could not tell. "If you seek that place," the shepherd whispered, "pray you return with your soul." "What do you mean?" Matthias asked. The shepherd looked away. "Some things were buried for a reason." A week later, Matthias reached the monastery. It rose from the fog like a massive corpse of stone, dark, cracked, and consumed by sprawling ivy. The windows were broken, black and empty like hollow eyes. The gates hung open, rust dripping like dried blood. The silence around the place felt unnatural, as if the world itself held its breath. Inside, the courtyard looked abandoned for decades, yet untouched. A bucket lay on its side. A rope dangled from the well, frayed mid-pull. In the dining hall, dusty plates remained exactly where they had been left. In the scriptorium, Matthias found spilled ink and unfinished pages, as though the scribes had vanished mid-sentence. But most disturbing was the abbot's chamber. A large journal sat open on the desk. The first entries recorded simple matters: supplies, repairs, letters from nearby towns. But several pages later, the writing became frantic, the handwriting uneven. "We discovered a chamber beneath the chapel, a place older than the monastery, older than we can comprehend." Another entry read, "Symbols carved into the stone, unknown, not of the church. We fear what we found." The final entry had been written with shaking, uneven strokes. "It moves beneath the crypt. We cannot stop it. God forgive us." That night, Matthias remained in the chapel, the journal's warnings echoing in his mind. Shadows clung to the cracked walls, and the faint light of the candles seemed too weak to hold back the darkness. Sometime near midnight he awoke. A sound echoed through the chapel. 3 slow, deliberate knocks, not on wood, but on stone. The sound came from the far end of the chapel behind a sealed stone door. Above it, carved into the wall, were Latin words that chilled him more than the knocks. "The future shall be guarded by those who have no future." The knocking stopped. Silence returned, heavier than before. At dawn, with trembling hands, Matthias broke the wax seal on the stone door. The ancient hinges groaned as he pushed it open, revealing a narrow staircase descending into cold darkness. Carrying a candle, he descended into the crypt. Stone sarcophagi lined the walls, each covered in dust and webs. In the center stood a pedestal, and upon it, wrapped in chains, a metal cylinder. The prophecy he had been sent to retrieve. He stepped toward it, then froze. One sarcophagus lid was shifted slightly aside, not smashed, moved. From the inside, a faint whisper drifted through the crypt. "Help! Us!" Then a trembling, pale hand slid out from beneath the heavy stone lid. A voice, dry and broken, whispered, "Do not take it." And Matthias understood. The Black Monastery was not abandoned. Something still lived in its darkness. The pale hand that reached from the cracked sarcophagus trembled as if holding on to the last thread of life. Matthias knelt beside it, heart pounding, and gently pushed the heavy stone lid aside. Inside lay a gaunt, hollow-eyed monk, skin pale as candle wax, breathing in shallow gasps. He looked as though he had been sealed inside for years. The monk's lips moved. "Do not take it," he whispered again. Matthias helped lift him from the stone coffin and carried him back up the stairs to the chapel. There, in the faint morning light, the man finally opened his eyes fully. His name was Brother Theophilus, the last surviving monk of the Black Monastery. His voice was weak, but steady enough to speak. 30 years earlier, he said, the monks discovered a hidden chamber beneath the crypt, a structure far older than the monastery above it. The walls were carved with symbols none of them recognized. In the center of the chamber was a scroll, sealed inside a strange metal cylinder. They believed it to be a prophecy, one so dangerous the church ordered them never to reveal it. "We were commanded to guard it," Theophilus whispered, "not for our safety, but because men would kill for the words inside." At first, the monks obeyed. They prayed above the sealed chamber day and night. But then the dreams began. Visions of burning cities, empty thrones, armies marching under banners they had never seen. Some monks went mad. Others fled. A few locked themselves in their cells and never left. "The prophecy speaks of a false king," Theophilus said, voice trembling. "A man who will rise in the West, believing he serves God, but serving only himself." Matthias felt a cold dread spread through him. Before he could ask more, distant sounds echoed from outside. Horses, many of them. Theophilus's eyes widened in terror. "They are coming," he whispered. "Men who serve no kingdom, no order, no cross. They were sent to steal the prophecy and erase all who have seen it." Matthias extinguished the candles and moved toward a small side window. Through the cracked glass, he saw armored riders entering the courtyard. Black armor, blank shields, mounted with precision and silence. These were not crusaders, not knights. They carried no symbol of allegiance. Assassins. Matthias hurried back to the crypt, clutching the chained cylinder. The riders spread through the monastery like shadows, their boots echoing through the stone halls. In the crypt, Matthias searched for any other exit. Behind an old sarcophagus, He found a collapsed archway leading into a narrow tunnel. With effort, he squeezed through, scraping his robe and bruising his arms. The echo of boots grew louder behind him. He walked through the darkness for what felt like hours. The tunnel sloped downward, then up again, carved through ancient bedrock. His candle flickered, then died. The only light came from a faint crack ahead. At last, Matthias emerged into a forest clearing. Dawn had begun to break. Birds sang softly, unaware of the danger behind him. There was no sign of the riders, only silence. He took a deep breath and unwrapped the cylinder. Inside was a scroll made of a material he did not recognize, smooth, stiff, neither paper nor skin. The ink shimmered faintly in the morning light. Matthias read the prophecy aloud. 3 crowns shall break when the shadowed air ascends. Kingdoms will fall by the word of a man who believes he serves God, but serves only himself. The words felt heavy, like stones in his chest. Another passage read, "From his lie, a river of iron shall flow. From his faith, a mountain of bones will rise, and a child crowned in darkness shall inherit a world made of ash." Matthias lowered the scroll, hands trembling. The prophecy did not simply predict destruction. It warned of a man, a leader, who would reshape nations through pride and false righteousness. He remembered the archbishop's command: recover the prophecy and burn the rest. If he returned it to the church, they might bury it forever. Or worse, use it to justify war. If he kept it, he carried a burden that could change history. Behind him, smoke began to rise above the forest canopy. The riders had burned the monastery, leaving no witness, no trace, no truth behind. Matthias wrapped the scroll in cloth and hid it beneath his robe. "I cannot destroy this," he whispered, "but I cannot allow it to fall into the hands of those who hunger for power." The wind rustled through the trees, as though urging him onward. He turned from the smoke and walked deeper into the forest, leaving behind the ruins of the monastery and the secrets buried beneath it. The prophecy would survive, but so would the danger it carried. And one day, the world would face the question it asked: is the future written by prophecy or by the choices of those who believe it?